It's been a great honour and pleasure for the Isle of Man and myself as Chief Minister to host this event. I think we've had a very successful morning discussing a wide range of subjects covering the economy, digital inclusion and the various developments and politics around the British Islands. Instead of the normal way which we would do running along the panel, giving everyone a chance to speak, because we are running a bit late and we don't want to hold people up, we'd like to just throw the questions open to the floor and ask for questions to any of the panel that you would like to. So could I ask for any questions that might be forthcoming?
Mark Temple, questions to Taoiseach and Secretary Sec, but also obviously the Deputy First Minister and Finance Minister if they want to join in. November the 28th is meant to be a report back date in terms of our Stormont talks as to what's going on. You're receiving a report from the Irish Foreign Minister, you're making a report to David Cameron. In relation to Northern Ireland, what is your assessment of the chances of a deal in the coming week?
Well, I've had a report from the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Charlie Flanagan, who's very optimistic that serious progress can be made here. I have to say that his report indicates that the parties in Northern Ireland have been very positively disposed towards, first of all, the talks, but secondly, to make progress in respect of three particular issues: flags the past and the parades. So I'll be hopeful of that now, and obviously it may well be that at the conclusion of the reports from the Secretary of State and so on may well mean that both myself as Taoiseach and Prime Minister Cameron may go to Northern Ireland before Christmas. I know that the First Minister has pointed out from his perspective that he would like to see Christmas as being a deadline. Obviously, the British general election will be the main focus of politics after Christmas, I would think, and so we're hopeful of that. Made it clear that obviously the internal mechanics of the budgetary situation and discussion on that were a matter for the executive and the people in Stormont, and I think they've concluded that. So, from our point of view, we want to encourage, to support, to assist in any way as a co-guarantor of the Good Friday Agreement. And the reports to date are of a positive disposition and progress being made, and I hope that can be concluded into reality.
Well, obviously my sentiments earlier in the week were distinctly downbeat. I think they're the sort of comments that perhaps the Northern Ireland media isn't used to hearing from me or from previous Secretary of States when I set out my view that the prospects of success were slim. I think that the parties did show, I think it was genuinely a turning point this week. I think the parties were very clear that they wanted this process to succeed. I think that the engagement over the last few days is, I think, certainly more serious, more business-like, more focused than actually has been the case up to date. I think there's some good work has been done, but I thought I was particularly impressed at the attitude of the parties when we met for a number of roundtable meetings on Wednesday. So I think my assessment is more upbeat, is more cheerful, is more positive today than it was a few days ago. But I think a realistic assessment is that we still have a way to go. We still have very significant differences between the parties. And I think it's on balance. I would be by no means confident of a successful outcome. I think perhaps the two biggest barriers, and no doubt Martin and Simon may be able to comment on this, is these issues are immensely difficult. And on the one hand, there is a big blockage in that Sinn Féin have been very, very clear about their reluctance to accept austerity measures, efficiency measures, and their opposition to welfare reform. I think without movement on those matters, it's going to be impossible to get an agreement. I also think, on the other side of the debate, the issues on the past are so sensitive for all sides, but particularly for the two leading parties, that potentially is an area of difficulty, though I would emphasise that I think that there has been some movement on those issues on the past from all parties, which I welcome. So the conclusion certainly that we came to this week is that it is well worth carrying on. You know, the question I asked the parties this week is this worth it? You know, are you serious about this process? Do we wrap up now and all go home and forget about this? And the very clear message was they did want to continue, they did think it was worth it, they did think there was a prospect of agreement. So that is why we'll intensify yet further in the discussions next week.
I think Martin and Sam might want to say a few words too.
Well, can I say first of all, given that it's her first time here as the new First Minister of Scotland, a very warm congratulations on behalf of all of us to Nicola Sturgeon, and all of us during the course of our meeting wished her well in the future. Look forward to working ever closer with her in the time ahead. And of course, good wishes also to Alex Salmon, who for a very long time featured in these meetings with the rest of us. In relation to the question that Mark has asked, I think the position has to be from the perspective of all the parties and the two governments, and that is that failure isn't an option in regards to these talks. These talks have placed, I think, a very onerous responsibility on all of us to deal with the challenges that we face, and the challenges are huge. Last year, an effort was made to try and resolve the whole issue of the past parades and the whole issue of identity through the good auspices of Richard Haas and Professor Megan O'Sullivan. We weren't able to find agreement in order to move the situation forward. We're now back at it again, but with a further complication, and that's in relation to the budgetary issues that we face, and to use the words that the Secretary of State used, that the austerity that has clearly been signalled was coming down the tracks for all of us. So the challenges in these negotiations are not just for the parties, they're also for, I think, the British government in particular, in relation to how austerity can be damaging for society emerging from conflict whenever we're trying to invest in things like shared education, reconciliation, and other important aspects of how we bring all of our people together. So, obviously, huge challenges. The commitment that was made at the last all-party session that we had just a few days ago was a very clear commitment from all of the parties that these talks need to intensify. We've been through, if you like, a sparring session over the last couple of weeks, over the next 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks, certainly before Christmas, because this isn't going to be resolved after Christmas. There appears to be a consensus on that. This is the time to get it done, and I think from our perspective in Sinn Féin, as we have done in every negotiation we've been involved in, we've approached all of this with a very positive and constructive spirit, in the belief that we can overcome these challenges and difficulties. The last thing I want to say is that our institutions are constantly being challenged by people who don't accept the new arrangements that have been put in place. And we have seen over the course of the last couple of weeks, small unrepresentative groups, so-called Republican groups, who have been involved in attempts to murder members of our police service. And last night they were at it again with so-called punishment shootings of 2 young people, one in Belfast and the other in my own city in Gael. And I think that from the perspective of the political process, the best way to counter the activities of these groups is to ensure that we get a resolution of these difficulties and that we all move forward with a single voice, which is about bringing the activities of these groups to an end through the great work that has been done by our police services at North and South, but also by ensuring that we put in place programs which are designed to bring our society together and remove the divisions that have been so much to our detriment for far too long.
Look, I don't think anybody doubts the difficulties that the parties in Northern Ireland face in trying to reach agreement, but my party called for these talks. We've been involved intensively in these talks because we're in the business of making progress for a range of reasons, not least because, as Martin has outlined, there are people within Northern Ireland, unfortunately, who have evil intent and wish to fill any vacuum of a lack of progress with awful acts that Martin has outlined. We obviously see, and we've been consistent in outlining our desire to see progress primarily around issues on welfare reform, issues around the budget, and the need for institutional change at Stormont. But there are issues surrounding our legacy, from the Troubles, around the past, also around parades and culture and emblems. And I don't think anybody doubts how difficult those issues, those tricky issues that they have proven in previous negotiations, will be for us to get agreement on during these talks. But we will intensify our efforts. We will continue to work very hard. I'm optimistic that in the weeks ahead that we can make some progress and reach agreement that all parties can sign.